interesting because it was still a cartoon and it was still like kid friendly, but on the same token, um, like the type of interactions and like words that were used like can be associated as maybe pertaining to like a more adult audience.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely, yeah, it was very high horizon is what I like to say. And then, just as far as being a little bit more unrealistic. I mean, most cartoons are have an element of unrealism. Unrealism. I don't even know if that's a word, but unrealistic. But but also, yeah, definitely. I don't think every family thought it was appropriate for their kids.
When you guys first were working on this, was it always just going to be pitched as a Canadian show? Because that's what it was
Mm-hmm.
originally, right? And then it made
Mm-hmm.
it to the States.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think most people anybody who's in this business, I don't think anyone ever thinks it's going to be just Canadian or just American. I think everybody wants to have some sort of a bigger distribution. But yeah, but the original creators are Canadian
Hmm.
and all the performers are Canadian. So yeah, that's sort of, but I think they were always hoping that it would go. I don't think they expected it to get as big as it did by any means.
Did you expect it, like when you're coming off this thing? Because I think sometimes you could tell because when I've spoken to other actors and actresses, they almost know in a sense when they're done on the set, like that they just felt like magic had just been created. But were you guys under that impression that you guys just got done filming something that would, you know, take headwaves?
No, I don't think so. Not in the same way because I don't know if it's because like we knew we were doing something really cool and and but I think in animation almost I don't know if everything I've done has been pretty great. Like I've just sort of enjoyed everything I've done.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what makes something fly, what flies and what doesn't fly is not necessarily because it's not because magic didn't happen or did happen, so it's going to fly, You never know what's good. It's just it's sort of like the chemistry of, two people meeting. The je ne sais quoi of how things go, like Modern Family, like how did it in Seinfeld, like all these Friends, like the shows that on Simpsons, like why Simpsons and not some of the other ones, right? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting how, and then once of course it does have the legs, then then you're doing something that is already a big hit, and I think it becomes then a different animal altogether. But at the beginning, I don't think you ever know. No,
Because it was
even
fairly
when you're
new.
creating magic, it's sort of like who knows how people are going to respond.
Because I think that project in particular was kind of something that was fairly raw and new at the time. Because you guys were essentially, it was a spin-off concept of sort of like the reality type
Mm-hmm.
with like Survivor
Mm-hmm.
and stuff
Mm-hmm.
mixed with
Exactly.
cartoon and kids. So it's like, is this really gonna stick? The audience you're putting it
Totally.
out to is kids technically, but are they gonna be like old enough or know what they're watching in a sense? Like there's one thing to watch something, but there's another to watch something and be able to analyze like the storylines, the character development, you know?
All that, right? And I mean, even think about something like Paw Patrol, which I have a character on. You know, why did there's so like Paw Patrol isn't really all that unique in its format, but
Right.
it's huge,
Yeah.
right? But
But I
why
think
Paw Patrol over Oh, did you see a bird fly by? I
I
felt it.
didn't.
I've got a bird in here. I just felt the wind. I'm like, did she
Are
go
you
right?
outside?
No, I'm inside, but it's my bird.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
oh, oh.
I'm inside.
Is that your only pet?
Yeah, right now it is my only pet. Yeah. Are you a pet person?
Yeah, I'm a dog person.
Yeah, yeah. I have lots of dogs in my life, and yeah, my person at the moment has two labs, so I was out with them this morning. So yeah, I'm a full animal person. So right now it's just we just have a bird. She's a lot. She's enough right now. I've got 2 kids too. So,
Okay.
oh, there she did. She
There it
came.
is.
Hi.
Here you go.
Incoming. She came to join. Hi, Luna.
Cameo appearance.
Yeah, a little cameo by Luna.
How maybe was it presented to you to do the whole voice animation? Did you pursue that, or did somebody notice you from some of your other prior work and say, "Hey, you might be a good fit there"?
Yeah, it was kind of like a little sort of similar. Yeah, a little bit. I definitely didn't start out pursuing voice. I got into this business super young. Like as a kid, even I started out modeling and doing commercials. Modeling was just something I got just kind of discovered. Not that I was like anything modeling special or anything. I guess I was kind of a cute kid or whatever, but it was good because it got me performing and doing I did a ton of commercials as that doing that because I also had a big personality and I was an athlete. I actually
Oh,
was always in sports
wow.
too. Yeah, I
I'm
was
gonna take a stab at this. Were you? Did you do track?
no, but I almost thought you were going to guess right. I'm Canadian. Take another stab.
Basketball.
Basketball is very, very popular, but I'm not very tall. What's another Canadian sport that we do?
Wow.
Wow.
Lacrosse?
He double hockey sticks. That's funny. My kids play that now. No, I'm a hockey player.
Okay.
I was a hockey player. Yeah.
Wow.
And I still play hockey. My kids are big, avid hockey players, and then they're actually getting into lacrosse. Lacrosse was never on my radar. I have no idea. My kids play, but I don't know anything about it. But anyway, yeah. So once I switched over, got an acting agent, did a big movie, and then I quit. I basically felt like I'd missed a lot of school, working, and I was just going to try and be kind of a normal kid. And then I became a professional water skier, actually, like for whatever reason, hockey to skiing. I don't know if you've seen any of those
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
no.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that, when kind of traveled all over the world doing that. Ended up in Thailand for a couple of years, and while I was there and I went to India, Bollywood, and it was when I was there that I thought, I've got to get back to being an actor. That's really what I want to do. I really wanted to not be an actor.
Mhm.
Kind of thought I should do something just more grounded, I guess, just a little bit more stable, I thought is what I needed. But then, I decided, nope, this is what I want to do. And then from there, while I was all, so I'd already, I'd been an actor, and I continued being an actor. She's with us. Um, and, and people basically, said I must do a lot of voice work. So I've got this sort of, different or whatever kind of voice, this textured voice that people just assumed. But I'd never even thought of it. I wasn't that kid that watched cartoons and thought I was interested in who was the voice behind the cartoon. I literally did not think about a voice being behind the cartoon. Same
Yeah.
same with commercials. So when I got put onto it, then I was like, there's this whole other world of acting, and back to that first question, like about the magic of, did we feel the magic in total drama? I did this other one of my big first things was, I did a pilot for this underground comic called Foolish Girl, and I thought that was gonna fly. Like, I thought that was gonna be huge. That's why I'm like, I have no idea. You just don't know, because I've done some really cool things that just didn't go anywhere. So you just never know. But yeah, so I took a lot of classes and learned how to do that side of it. Got a coach and I do a lot of commercials too. Like, that's kind of where I probably work more in as just an announcer or a character commercial actor. Um, but then the animation also kind of took off at the same time. But animation, really it isn't a more actory thing.
Hmm.
It takes, I coach this stuff now, so it is really about acting. So it made sense. Yeah, that's why a lot of actors are voice actors too.
Voice actors are more underappreciated, I feel, than regular actors. Do you get that sense too?
Yeah, absolutely. And even when like I noticed on my Wikipedia, someone had written that I'm like a Canadian voiceover actor. When I first saw that years ago, I was like, no, like now I'm an actor, because there's something of, even I did that, I was like, I'm not just a voice actor.
Right. Can it just be actor,
Yeah. And it's like, at the end of the day, now I'm like, if you think I'm just, a Canadian voice actor, that's fine by me. At least I'm being thought of, you know what I mean? Like, at least, yeah, being, I do a lot of both, but that's where I maybe more of my successful shows have been as a voice actor. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But yeah, I think there's something, there are like, you know, incredible voice actors out there that no one knows. So it is interesting. I think it's just not having the face, to the name. People don't, yeah, and now it's like, and most stars are doing that kind of stuff, and it's really just about the star. They're great, but.
Do you ever get recognized by your voice in public ever?
Once in a while, like it happened the other day actually, but I was talking about being an actor and like a show that I had done, and as she was doing my hair, she's like, I recognize your voice. I didn't mention any show, but that was really like, she's like, I know your voice. Wait. And she was a huge 16 fan.
Wow.
It turned out it was 16, and then a whole bunch of them, because now it's funny because it's the next. Because I think if Total Drama was your show, you're kind of a little old, kid. People who are older than you knew 16, because 16 came before. Sort of when it hits, it's usually around 8. You're watching 16 in Total Drama Island, right?
Right.
So 16, you would have been, 2 when it came out, when it was really a hit, and you're in the States, so it was a little bit different. You could have missed it, since it did get pulled.
so 16 came out before.
Yeah, and it was the same.
Timing must have been different over in the States, actually.
Maybe.
Because I'm pretty sure it was Total Drama that was first over here, at least.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, 16 was definitely there, and then it got pulled, but then it maybe came back again.
Yeah, there's definitely over here, at least, it's very hard to find 16s, like old seasons.
Yeah, it is.
Total Drama's very accessible. It's on Netflix, I'm pretty sure, over here. But 16 is kind of hard to come by.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, which is too bad. It was a great show. I really thought it was like, I just did a voice panel this weekend, VoiceCon, and one of the guys on the panel with me, is a huge fan of 16. Like, and people who love 16, they're like, it was such a good show for kids. And a lot of my fan base is, they really felt like 16, the characters from 16 were their friends. Like they, especially kids who were bullied at school or had bad high school experience or bad school experience, they'd go home to be with their friends on 16. It was one of those shows.
In a sense, it was kind of an educational type show, like without.
Sure was. 100%. I feel like it was too. And when I do Comic-Cons and stuff, I have so many parents that thanked me, like back, especially when it was fresher. That were like, you dealt with some really like the hard stuff that we, that helped us talk about the stuff at home, Yeah. Like everything. Cause I thought it was real. It was great modeling, it was about friendship and being responsible, growing up and being a teenager, but, loyalty to your buddies and having each other's backs and making mistakes and what you do after making mistakes, like all that kind of stuff. I thought it was great. I was super proud of it. I loved it. Like that's definitely my heart show. My heart's, still with it. And I think I got informed. Like I think I became more like Jen.
Really?
Oh yeah, in a way. And it's funny.
Is that a real thing? Like for actors and actresses, after they play a role, like they kind of in a way start to like take on the form of the character that they play?
I think you can. I think it depends on the person, but yeah, I think if you live in a character for a long time and you like the character and maybe like there were a lot of similarities between Jen and I. as far as being really driven and really into sports and being really, and as a kid, being like, she was super boy crazy, and like I was definitely boy crazy when I was younger, all that kind of stuff. But, and then just, yeah, I think there is something that happens that you don't even realize, that you sort of just take on little things. And oh yeah, I mean, and if I think about, characters like, not that I've played, but something like the Joker that Joaquin Phoenix just embodied. Like I think that can be some real.
It's a great movie.
I agree. Like, such a great movie. I'm still talking about it. Clearly, there was
3 years ago, and I still like it.
I know. It was like probably the last movie we saw.
These days when it comes to like seeing movies in theater. Typically, like I'll see them, and then I have like a 24-hour rule where I think about it, and then they kind of just like, I'm done with it. But that's one of those movies that I saw in person in the movie theaters that still kind of, holds a place in my head.
Yeah, me too. And what was it for you, do you think? What was it about that particular version?
I think what it was is because typically when we see maybe superhero or movies that come from that kind of same realm, they're all kind of the same type of thing. You have there's a bad guy, and then the good guy kind of just wins in the end. Whereas this was more of like a psychological documentary type movie. It was based on someone that comes from a superhero type genre, but it was focused on like his storylines that he potentially had within that universe. It was focused on like, basically it was almost a prequel, right? It was basically that was. It was documenting his life and his upbringing, basically. So I like that. We got to kind of see who the villain is, not necessarily who the hero is.
Yeah, and I also thought it kind of it's almost like society made him a villain. Like, it was sort of like, it wasn't his fault. It was like, I thought it was a real story about the underdog and the fringe of society, the people that get bullied, the people that aren't seen, the people that are struggling with mental health issues, socioeconomic issue, all of that. And just to not, because he was a good guy. Like, he stuck up for a woman on the subway. He was trying to do well, but society just kept kicking him down. So it's like, that's what happens when you kick someone down enough.
Yeah. In a way, he was misunderstood, or just.
I thought he was very, very misunderstood and very disrespected. And I thought it was so sad. And it really made me, my kids, they were just like, are you going to be the Joker again for Halloween? It really scares me, because that I've been the Joker ever since the Joker came out. I've played the Joker for Halloween.
Really?
Like, and I have a lot to say about it. Anyway, it's, so anyway, it was a lot.
You think there's going to be a second one of the Joker? Because it kind of teased it at the end, didn't it, a little bit?
A little bit. I mean, I don't know what's going to, it'll be interesting how they would, because maybe. I don't know.
Are you into the horror genre at all, by any chance?
I wish I were. I've done a lot of horror things, but they scare me too much. And I get a little too scared. Why? What were you is it anything?
Because there's this movie that just came out that I just saw, and it's being very critically acclaimed, called Barbarian. And I usually kind of don't go to horror films, but this was actually a really, like, it was different.
So definitely put it on my list. Okay, I will.
It was different from your usual like horror type film. It made me think of that when we were talking about misunderstanding and stuff, because sort of the plot line is,
kind of similar like that. Something about
that. Made
me
think about the Joker a little bit, so that's why I kind of.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll put it on my list for sure. I've written it down. Thank you.
But make sure you don't look at any spoilers beforehand. That's the unspoken thing everybody's talking about right now, is like, go into this as empty-minded as possible.
Okay, I love that. I try and do that anyway. Like, honestly, I try and approach most everything. I mean, if I'm auditioning for something, then and it's something that's already out, like a series that's already on, then I try and like learn everything about it. But when I'm meeting someone, even your stuff, I didn't look too much at, because it's like, who knows what this will be like, or,
Yeah.
or if I'm working with an actor that I have never worked with before, I don't really need to know too much about what people are saying. It's like, I like to form my own opinions about things
Right.
and people, and there's a lot of crap out there, and who knows, and there's a lot of misunderstandings.
There you go.
Yeah, so I like to sort of go into things anyway, because it
Yeah.
can skew you. You read something, you can get higher expectation when you hear about this great movie, and then you're like, you're right, you can like
Yeah.
get blown by a high expectation of something. So I will not read anything about Barbarian.
Good.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah.
you should see it. You definitely
Yeah.
got to see it in theaters too. That's like it's an experience. Like
Okay.
it's a different thing watching it on streaming, but I think it's another thing with this one in particular that you want to almost see it in a theater.
That's just the bird's foot and the bird's beak. Okay, cool. Good to know. I should actually see that sooner than later then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, thank
Update
you.
me when you do.
Okay, I will absolutely.
Okay. So let me ask you now, since you talked about kind of the role of Jen that you were playing on 16, Gwen almost kind of flipped that role on its head a little bit. Gwen was
A
kind
little
of like
bit.
goth type of like a rebel type character, I would say. Sort of
Yeah, a
like
little bit. Yeah,
sort
I
of a
don't know how
self-deprecating.
rebellious she was, Gwen. But definitely, yeah, definitely different than Jen. Yeah, Jen was a super rule follower. Like and also I would say biggest difference would have been the extrovert versus the introvert.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you were you voicing for other characters at first? Were they trying to find a fit for you and that's what they landed on, or was it just Gwen from the start?
Yeah, someone just asked me this. I did audition for other characters. I can't remember who, but I think a lot of them, a lot of the original female characters. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, I think we all did. I think they were trying, but they liked, they obviously liked me a lot and wanted to figure out which character would be right for me. And people sometimes think I was Nikki on 16 because Nikki might be a little bit more like Gwen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they definitely wanted me for Gwen, like right away. They were like, yeah, you're definitely Gwen all the
Was
way.
was it an adjustment for you having to play that type of character?
Yeah, big, like, oh yeah, it was an act, it was definitely like it was, work as an act because Jen was a little bit more me. So it was a little bit, easy to just, it was just, she was easier to play in that way, whereas Gwen, it's not that she was hard. I just had to figure out my character, and rejig because I'm not like Gwen.
Yeah. Well, Gwen ended up going on to being probably one of the more figure points of the show, I would say. Like
Yeah.
recognizable
Yeah.
figures. Yeah.
Yeah. And very relatable for a lot of people, for all the introverts out there. And all the kids the underdogs and the kids that just aren't, don't fit in, the socially awkward.
You think
Mhm.
oh, no, go ahead. Were you going to say
I
anything?
was just going to say they love Gwen. They could see themselves in her. She was a character that they could see themselves in. And I guess we didn't have a lot of that. Or maybe
The time period, probably not, especially
yeah.
Cartoon Network up to that point was kind of, you watch shows with like entertaining type characters, like kids will like it, but at that point, it wasn't necessarily the social experiment that we had with 16 and Total Drama up to that point before those shows came along. Like that was essentially a reality show mixed with a cartoon. I know I said this before, but it was essentially like a social experiment watching that unfold.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I think it stood out so much is because we hadn't seen that up to that point.
Yeah, it was super fresh, that's for sure. And it did come off the coattails of sort of the sort of emergence of the reality show, like you said.
Yeah.
So, and that was becoming very huge at that time. I remember being an actor going, like, thinking, like, what is going on with all these reality shows? Like, it was sort of taking over and it was wrecking it for all of us who were in, that who were actors were like, we don't do that, you know?
One
And
thing I do
reality show,
know,
yeah.
one thing I do know is like from covering the both of them is like they do not go hand in hand at all.
No, they really don't at all. Yeah, I did a lot of mock reality shows.
I sometimes think that like my covering sometimes of reality TV has like closed doors in the sense of getting more actors and actresses to come on my podcast.
Oh yeah?
I mean, I don't have any concrete proof to suggest that, but it's just something that like psychologically, I guess, like kind of weighs over my head a little bit where I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Um, yeah, there was definitely actors definitely had a hate on for reality shows. I
Yeah.
think it's normalized now because it's just what it is.
So you never thought about going into reality TV?
Well, I did start auditioning actually for hosting.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, hosting was something, but then a lot of the hosting stuff and has ended up being like reality shows are non-union. Like that's now there's that thing.
Yeah.
Union, non-union. So once you're unionized, you can't do anything non-union.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did. Property Brothers hired me to voice their first episode.
Okay.
Um, so that was different than like it was
Yeah.
being it was voice work. But then they used that as their sort of guide, and then they got someone non-union to sort of do what I did for the rest of it.
Probably easier for them.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of your earlier points I want to come back to, I think you said that you were in school at the time when you were first getting involved with like acting, so you were kind
Mm-hmm.
of a thing where, and I think you made a remark about wanting to be a normal kid again.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered what it's like for kids when they're acting, if they're going on like shows. Are they looked at a certain way when coming back to school by their fellow peers, or?
Yeah, I think like it wasn't great. Like I found, because I think I was the only kid doing it. Now I think there are a lot more kids I think a lot more kids know kids that are in
Yeah.
commercials, but at the time it was definitely at my school, we didn't have anybody else doing it. And, yeah, so I think there's just that, it's an awkward time for kids developmentally, socially, trying to fit in. And instead of like, it was what I loved to do and it was my job. I didn't think I was anything special by doing it. Like I certainly didn't think, I was happy to be doing it. I wanted to do it. I also, my parents had split up and it gave me, it was my job. So I had money. I had, gave me stuff so I could sort of do things with my friends and whatever. Because we didn't have a lot of extra for that kind of stuff. So, but then there was like the whole jealousy thing, I think, what it ended up. But of course, I wouldn't have known that at the time. I just thought people kind of hated me. So that sort of normal thing, such a not a good word to use anymore. It's sort of like, what does normal mean? But just sort of just wanting to be able to fit in and not being judged for, what, being, people would bring, it was back as when I was a model, it was like newspaper days. I used to deliver, before I was a model, I was delivering newspapers. So I became like, I was a paper girl. Like that's what I did from age 10 to grade 13. And then I started modeling and then I stopped delivering papers and I was like, I was in the papers. I was in the flyers. I was modeling in the flyers in the papers that I delivered.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Like it was sort of funny and I made a lot more money doing that. Yeah. And it was a stepping stone towards being an actor. And for me, and that's just who I am too. It's just like, I'm just not a judgmental person. Like I'm like, we all have our own things, we're all just trying to, we're just trying to live our best lives, but it's not like that out there. People are competitive and judgmental. And and cutthroat and all that. And I was so just in the business. I think I was really green for a long time and even naive. I think and I still think I am, but it's just because I see the good in people, and I think I can't not be that way. I definitely have more of an edge now, and I'm not a punching bag anymore, and I stick up for myself, and I've always been a champion of the underdog, definitely, just because I can see when I don't, I don't turn a blind eye to, I'm not a bystander at
Mm.
all. It's like they have funny words in school now, with bullies. Don't be yeah, I think a bystander. I can't remember. But, um, so yeah, that normal child. And then the movie I did when I was 16. So I booked this big movie. It was a movie of the week. I shouldn't say it's a big movie, but it was an important movie. It was a movie made for television, starring Linda Lavin, who unfortunately just passed away. She was on a show called Alice at the time. It was a big show, and it was a World War II movie, and after World War II, it was post Holocaust. It was kind of like where it basically started where Schindler's List kind of left off.
Yeah.
It was based on a true story of this woman, Lena Kuchler Cyberman, who had posed during the war as a Catholic to survive.
Hmm.
But her sister, and after once the war ended and there were all these displaced people, looking for their families, and everyone was everywhere, right? And whoever survived, it was basically over, right? The war just kind of ended, and then people were just free to leave the camps and free to leave. Like, it was a very messed up time because no one knew where to go. And so going into this took place in Warsaw, I guess. And so when Lena was looking for her sister, she found that she had died, and she felt a lot of Lena, this woman whose story it was about, she felt very guilty that she had survived by pretending she was someone she wasn't. And so with her, she ended up finding this building full of all these children who'd lost their families and had survived by some miracle. And I was one of these 100 children. It was called Lena and My 100 Children. And there were a bunch of us actors that had come from Toronto and LA and New York. And then the rest of the kids were all orphans we shot in Budapest from 2 different orphanages. And they were all in the movie with us, and I worked with them every day. So it was this really amazing experience. My head was shaved, obviously, because I was a Holocaust survivor. So coming back from doing that, that's when stuff got really hard at school. And so I remember I was trying out for a school play, like that was being done with this other school, and with my shaved head, and I was a professional actor, and they didn't look twice at me. Like I was really, really judged in society, but the shaved head too, like people were scared of me. It was bizarre. It was unreal. It was a very different time. Like, like the world now it's better. It is significantly better, but there's still places that are brutal and racist and anti-Semitic and brutal,
Yeah.
like horror and homophobic and all the things, all the hate things. So yeah, and I'd never experienced that before, being a white blonde girl. I'd never really experienced. It was the first time I really saw like real judgment, hate, and fear. Like fear, people thought I was a skinhead, or I don't know, it was gang. Like I was in a gang.
Yeah.
Like I found this dead cat, and for instance, I was going to visit my grandmother, and there was a dead cat on the road. Brutal, right? Like
Mm.
someone's pet. I found it dead on the road, and I knocked on the door of the house that it was in front of, and the kid like opened the door to me, and as soon as he saw me, like I'm just like me, but just no hair, he shut it like immediately. It's like, can I help you? It was weird. It was bizarre. Yeah. And so that's where I think that sort of I just need to be a normal kid
Yeah.
came from. Yeah.
Would you characterize your, I guess, upbringing at all as being tough?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah. You?
Do you think? I mean, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Maybe no.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah, it
like
was
give me
tricky. I
like a
had some
year to
tricky
decide.
things.
I might have a better answer for you, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, okay. You're still a kid.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I would say there were some challenges. Yep.
Would you say that maybe that in some sorts is, I don't want to say use the word chip on your shoulder, but everybody I feel in acting has kind of something that helps them not get jaded. And do you feel like that maybe is yours that like keeps you motivated, or do you have other sources of maybe drive when it comes to acting?
Yeah, that's a good question because we talk about that a lot, like most actors are really effed up, or had really came from something to prove. Like that's what that
Yeah.
makes me think with that chip on the shoulder and yeah, I don't know because I always loved it. Like I don't think it came like I don't think I ever set out to be an actor to prove that I was like better than, or that I could do it. I don't think I think it turned into that at one point. Once I was already in it, I think I definitely had that definitely came into my sort of pathos, I guess, almost like it was. And especially when I was, in my sort of later 20s, when it was really, my ego was really loud and was really in the way. And it was really like, um, for whatever reason, I think a little bit of, wanting to prove to all the people that, were mean to me when I was young and prove to my, you know, my the one parent that abandoned me or whatever, like I'm enough, I'm worthy.
Yeah.
Like that's a big one for a lot of people, and I'm super open about talking about this stuff because I don't think I think we all have, a lot of people have that, we
Yeah.
do struggle with worthiness. I don't know why my phone has decided to start making noise. I apologize for that.
Okay.
Don't know how to turn it off. I've been trying to figure it out. Let me just turn my Bluetooth off. um but it's definitely not a, I've had some good therapy, and at the end of the day, no, my love of acting was just always like, I love storytelling. I love what watching movies does for me. I love what, look at what we all did in the pandemic. Like we got lost in shows. Like shows saved us. Entertainment saved us. And I would actually say I grew up, I moved a lot as a kid. Every 2 years I moved. We just did. Our family moved every 2 years. So I was the new kid in school every 2 years. And remember, this is way before social media. It's way before cell phones. Like keeping in touch with people was very hard. Once you started moving, you just lose people. So you just, and no one, I had to reinvent myself, or just, I had to find new friends every 2 years. So I think I was just like I was naturally learning how to be an actor, like my whole life, trying to fit in. New school, new group, new culture, new hockey team, new this, new that. Everything was
Yeah.
sort of fitting it. Really good at reading people, reading rooms. Like I still think like my biggest strength is you could honestly blindfold me, throw me on a plane or throw me anywhere and plunk me down somewhere and I would figure it out. I would be a part of a community very quickly. I know how to do that. I'm not afraid to do that. So I think it's just something I got good at doing in my own life. And so when like create my imagination and creating and was just something I loved. And when I first did a play, that was sort of I remember when the one school I was part of the choir and we were watching a play and watching these kids on stage. I thought I really want to do that. So in my next school, I tried out for the play and I was Peter Pan in my school play. And everyone like called me Peter in the playground after, and I just loved it. And I just loved that it was, I loved everything about it. I loved that all these kids knew me from being on the stage, but I also, because I'm not an egomaniac at all, like I don't think I'm like some actors who think what they do is something extra special. Like it's just one of the things, every set I'm on, I'm like, we're all in this together. There's
Yeah.
no, we all are making the same project. We all want to make gold. We all want to tell this amazing story. So there was something about that I think that's what I get at. Like that's what drives me. I'd say more is just the storytelling. But Yeah, like if when I think about what my Oscar speech will be, I've had many rewrites on that, and like there's definitely been some casting directors that maybe
Yeah.
didn't think I was anything special, that I feel like I'd love for them to see my Oscar speech so I could say, see, I am good. See, I got this. But yeah, so I think, yeah, I don't know if like all actors, like if you sort of if it's a challenging childhood, or just, it can just be for the love there. I mean, there are a lot of us that have that, but I think I think at the end of the day, that can't be the thing that drives you. It has to be not to prove people wrong, or it has to be about, just the love of the craft and the work and the love of storytelling.
I love storytelling. That's like I'm like a nerd in that aspect. Like storytelling and like character development's like really like vital for me when I'm like watching something.
Me too. Me too. And I think, I think that being that person to do that and put yourself out there and tell these stories, like as an actor, it's not easy being an actor. It looks like everyone thinks it's so fun, but you have to learn how to be someone else all the time. And maybe, there's an
Yeah.
accent, or maybe not, but it's like, I think if that's something I don't mind doing. I like doing it. I don't mind. I don't care if people, I don't generally read comments on things, it's like, I love doing it. And if the stories I tell help somebody, live their best life because of it, if the stories I tell help someone, quit their dead end, the job they hate, and do something better with their life, or end their crappy marriage and do something better with, if it,
Yeah.
any of it, or leave their small town and live their best, live their dream. If I can be an inspiration to help someone else take that leap and believe in themselves. And that's what it has to come down to, is believe in self,
Mm.
It can't be in spite of, it has to be because I believe in me, because I am worthy, and I am lovable, and all those things. But because I believe in myself, that's why I do it.
Hmm.
Not because you didn't believe in me.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that has to be what it's all about. Yeah.
So what's like a role of yours in, let's just say, a film, a TV show, anything, that if we were to get off this and then I were to go watch one right now, like you would be like, that's the first one you got to go check out.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you should go check out the baby formula. That's something I'm really proud of. The baby formula. Did you hear of that one, or you saw that?
Yeah, when I was checking your kind of feed, I saw that was one of the.
Yeah, the baby formula was unbelievable. Like, it was, I mean, everything about it was it was amazing. I mean, it was based on basically these two women that have each other's babies based on cell differentiation, kind of
Mhm.
like cloning, but the egg was different. The egg of each of our eggs was differentiated into sperm. So we fertilized each other's eggs and it is being done in rats in Australia. At that time when we shot the movie, that we were shooting that in 2007. And I remember that because we were pregnant and I had my first baby that year. And we filmed it we actually used both pregnancies as part of the film, but it was great. And
So poetic.
I know it was one
Yeah.
of those, and we did a lot of improv, and yeah, that was a pretty great creation. And we made a short film before we did that one with the same director, who's an incredible stunt woman as well, who's now a director but started in stunts, and that was called Succubus. And if you can find that one, that's pretty awesome also.
I saw one I think it was called Murder on Something Street.
A maple. Oh
Maple.
yeah, that was something I did recently, which with my little, yeah.
Well,
Did you
I
see?
didn't watch it yet, but I saw it.
Okay.
I was thinking of watching it later today because I'm somebody,
Yeah.
obviously, as you know, I said earlier about the Barbarian. I'm someone that's really into like kind of the murder mystery type genre.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one, yeah, Murder on Maple Drive. I played a super light character. I loved my character Shelby, and who was written as a Texan to begin with, and then a couple of days before when we went to picture, I was told they didn't want her Southern anymore. So that was a struggle. Like my Southern accent definitely has slipped in there because I became, I was ready to shoot, as Shelby. This and was written very Southern as well. So I had to, but it was a very light character. So I was the levity in the murder. But another one that I also think is other very important film that I've done, it's called Believe Me. And it was, and in that one, I play a heinous character. So I played the heinous mother of this young woman that gets abducted, and it's based on a true story of the serial killer that was abducting people and then murdering them. And she got away because of her horrible mother. She was able to, because of all the horribleness her childhood was. She managed to psychologically trick this abductor, and he ended up getting caught after that. But it's it's based on true stories. That would be the other one. I don't know. They're really there's a nice array of characters there for you too.
I'm gonna have to go check those two.
Yeah, cool. And you've already seen 16, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so you're good. Yeah, thanks. Good questions.
You grew up in Ontario, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I asked this to Drew who played. Again, I asked him this too. I was like, if you were to give a tour guide to somebody coming into Canada for the first time, everybody, city-wise has their food of choice that's kind of like the staple. Like I'm in New York, and obviously you think of pizza, sometimes hot dogs, typically. Philadelphia's like cheesesteaks. What is Canada or Ontario?
Yeah, it's interesting because Canada is there's Canadian cuisine. We don't really have, I don't even think of I don't know what Canadian cuisine is really. But what's something that we have, like poutine? You've probably heard poutine is something that is more Quebec, I guess. It's the French fries with gravy and cheese curds. Like cheese curds are kind of a big thing in certain, we do have a lot of cheese, I guess. Alberta is beef. I would say indigenous stuff, we'd be apple trees, apple picking, apples, we have that sort of big
niche type.
Yeah, but we also I live in Toronto, so it's a big city, and I don't think hamburger it's sort of similar, hamburgers, hot dogs, ballpark food. Right. We have a lot of pizza and pasta, but that's more Italian, I guess. And we have a huge Asian population, so because of living in Thailand, probably I cook mostly in Asian foods. I don't know. I mean, a big steak, poutine, and an apple. There you go.
I love Asian food.
Yeah, me too. Spicy vegetables, meat, I don't know, noodles, dumplings. I love it all. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for giving me your time today. I had such a fun time chatting with you, of course.
Thank you, Mike.
A few films of yours once we're done with this. And you got to go check out Barbarian. I'm telling you.
I've got it. I've got an exclamation mark now. I'm going to go see it. Absolutely.
Other than the trailer, make sure you know nothing going in.
I'm not even going to watch the trailer. Okay. I'm going to go in super green.
Cool. Okay.
And I'm going to bring somebody with me, and I will be screaming. I'm the worst. And I'm the worst in theater too, because I am a full screamer, and not in this necessarily in the scary parts. It's the big, it's the lead up to it. And
it's me too. It's the jump stuff.
Before even just I can almost not handle the what do you call them? I'm losing the word for getting to the tense stuff right before.
Yeah.
That part, the tense part. Yeah.
Are theaters making a comeback by you guys? I thought because they're obviously still around, as you know, but I think just the theater market since the pandemic is kind of been a little
Did you say is what making? What did you say is what making a comeback?
Are theaters kind of becoming more popular again?
I think so. I mean, I think it's slow. It's slow. I actually have not been to the theater since the pandemic, kind of since we opened, which is terrible. I'm such a movie goer, but I think we've all just become much more, I don't know, like going out is just, we just didn't for so
Yeah.
long. Like I've gotten out of practice and I'm a full hockey mom. So like my time, like I'm at a rink all the time. It's like, I'm that mom right now. That's just like, when do you go to a movie? You know?
Few factors I think kind of are working against theaters right now with streaming service, and then like just I feel like everything's changed since the pandemic. People not only are, potentially worried about like just obviously that, and then the factoring in of at least with me, like I noticed since being isolated inside, it's kind of made me less inclined to go out more,
Yeah. We've just become so used to not. It's like,
It's made me kind of like a homebody since.
we are more homebodies and we can get everything we want to watch right in the comfort and ease and financially easier,
Yeah.
everything, right? But I feel like they're not gone. I think we're just out of practice and we're still, and people, it's taking time. We're on the others, like I feel like we're sort of on the other side of the pandemic, but it's still gonna take a while. Like it's kind of like when you do a cleanse. I don't know if you've ever done a cleanse, but there's the cleanse, but then there's the coming off of the cleanse that takes time
Yeah.
to have your body like eat food again and stuff. I think it's sort of like that. And and this is massive. This pandemic was massive for our lifetime anyway. And there's just been a lot of ramifications that are just going to take time. So, but we do have to get back into practice. We have to make an effort, I think, to just leave our houses and do things that are fun. Go see. I've gone to see live shows. I support my friends and theater, but I've got to get into go into a movie theater. I can't wait. I want some of that butter. Oh, I lied. I went to TIFF this year. I did go see a film during the Toronto International Film Festival. So I have been to one. Yeah, and I did eat popcorn, but it wasn't very good. They didn't have
Yeah.
extra butter. I like extra butter.
That's one thing over
If I'm
here.
going to eat it, I want extra butter.
We've got great popcorn over here. That's one thing we kind of.
Oh, yeah? I'm coming
Yeah.
to eat popcorn. I was also going to say your pretzels. You have those good.
That's
Yeah,
also a staple
have
over
a
here
good.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's true. Like, what is it? Are you right in New York City or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
An Upper West Side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manhattan. Yeah. Great. Yeah. I did a fringe show there years ago and
Oh,
lived
okay.
in,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
a big Broadway place too.
It's a big Broadway place. So I was definitely off Broadway when I was there, but it was great. It felt good to be doing a live show in New York. It's got a great thump to it. Like New
Yeah.
York is where I always thought I might live.
Yeah.
Toronto's sort of similar. Like I don't know if you've been to Toronto, but it has a similar vibe where like it's different but similar, you know. But I've heard like I think we're similar more than, Californians say. There's a big difference between, yeah.
I could never live in California, at least me. I'm not a
No
hot
way.
weather person either.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
cold weather, fall, kind of winter, actually, believe it or not, type
Yeah?
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do anything fun in the winter? Like are you a skier or anything like that? Do that kind of stuff?
Um, well, I just like the just weather, I guess you could say, in terms of
Yeah.
fall and like the vibes of it. It's kind of like a Hallmark type vibe
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Oh,
that
that's nice.
and that
Yeah.
type of year. So that's what I like about it. We do actually have a lot of skiing resorts over here. So here and there, like I kind of, I'm not too great at it, but like
Yeah, yeah. It's not what you
I
grew
def
up doing.
yeah,
Yeah. What's your sport?
I did football.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
football guy. Basketball too, track.
Yeah. And
Not really.
track.
Didn't do any baseball. I'm not good at that.
No.
Not no soccer either.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And do you play anything ever now?
They have like some club stuff that I do kind of near my area, so I do that a
Yeah.
little bit when I have the time, but
Yeah.
mostly focused on, my studies
Work.
and my
Yeah.
work stuff.
Are
Yeah.
you in school still?
Yeah, I'm taking one more year of grad school right now.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Well, I wish you all the luck and all the success that
Thank you, thank you.
yeah, hard work, believe in yourself,
That's the key
and
thing.
just do it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. I'll let you know when this is out. Let me know if you go see that movie. I'm telling you, it's gonna
Yeah, I
be.
will. Okay, I will. And
All right.
and let me know if you see any of those shows that I told you about. And I'm doing a Hallmark thing right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will be out. I'm doing it with I'm on something with Andy McDowell.
Oh,
So
cool. Oh,
yeah, so there you go. Right in your genre.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, take care, Mike.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.